Hello everyone, this is Ask Joshi. Welcome to Game 1 in a best of 3 series being played between StarCraft.Bomber, he's the red Terran up here on the top side of Antigua Shipyard, and his opponent TSL.Polt, the blue Terran down on the bottom right spawn. This is cross positions only, and just as a note, they are playing on a version of the map with normal minerals in the middle instead of gold minerals. Don't know if it'll end up mattering, but we'll see as this game unfolds. So lovely TVT here for the finals of the IPL4 online qualifier number 2. Both of these guys have just won their semifinals, and they're both probably ecstatic because that means that both of them get free flights, free hotel, and guaranteed prize money at IPL4, the live event in Las Vegas, Nevada, in the United States. So we'll see which of these guys is going to win the finals, which is being played out for seeding. This is going to determine which group they are placed in at IPL4. Both of them still getting guaranteed prize money whether they win or lose. Just matters which group, just only affects what group they get placed in at the actual live event. So Supply Depot, of course, being the first thing built for each player. Polt actually looks like he's going to be doing a wall off at the top of his ramp, kind of interesting, and going refinery first rather than a barracks, and StarCraft.Bomber is actually going to build that barracks, not walling off the top of his ramp. Interesting little differences between the two players. Polt, of course, has quite a lot of accomplishments. The one that sticks out for most people is the fact that he got first place at the GSL Super Tournament. Fun fact about the GSL Super Tournament, I was living on Cat's Pajamas floor in San Francisco for 2 weeks span, and the Super Tournament was right in the middle of that, so I actually watched the GSL Super Tournament while sleeping on the floor at Cat's Pajamas' house like one of his cats. And we also had a bunch of guys from Well Played, including C-Gnome, and I believe Feds was there, and Feargorm, so we actually had a fun little night of GSL. The Super Tournament was the same night as the GSL Finals, so we got to watch all of that awesome StarCraft in my first couple of weeks here in San Francisco working for IGN. So a little bit of a little reminiscence there, so I'm glad that Polt actually is qualified. StarCraft.Bomber is also qualified, because that means I'll get to see both of them at the event in Las Vegas. SCV scouting ahead now for Bomber. The wall-off is nearly complete here for Polt, and he's already building a factory away to the back a little bit. Both players probably going for that 1-1-1. Their builds are still pretty similar despite Polt going refinery first, but if Polt can get over here and build a supply depot before this SCV gets in here, then the factory will actually be concealed. There he goes. He actually lowered the depot so that the SCV could get over here faster to build the second depot. I like it. And now he's got to be careful with this depot. This SCV is trying to get in desperately, but the Marine just walks down the ramp, blasts him in the face a few times, and the SCV decides he'd rather live than find out what Polt is doing inside of his main. Factory nearly completed here for Polt. It looks like Bomber is not too far behind with his own. Second refinery coming up for Bomber, but Polt's already ahead of the game in that regard. He's got quite a good gas income already. Both players with very similar mineral incomes, of course. And Starport already beginning for TSL.Polt. One barracks, one factory, one starport. Ooh, how surprising. 1-1-1 build actually for both players now. I'm wondering if this is going to turn into Banshee Wars. Very possible. Sometimes each player will build a Banshee just to see how many SCVs they can milk out of the other players. Try and get some free economy kills there. Supply depot going up for Bomber. Not too much going on there. Tech lab being added onto the factory, so the starport will likely flip onto that tech lab and most likely start building a Banshee. Polt doing that as well. So what will he build first? It is going to be a Banshee. Alright, so let's see as the starport finishes. Probably going to flip and turn that Banshee on as well. Cloaking field being researched now for Polt, so he's a little bit ahead of the game. He's actually 15 seconds, 10-15 seconds ahead of Bomber also getting that cloaking field upgrade. Has not started to build a Banshee yet. His economy is just a little bit slower in that regard. So Polt actually has done this quite a few times, it seems. He's actually getting very, very efficient at it and building more supply depots in the smokescreen area of his main so that no dirty surprises happen there. Bomber has not done the same to his own smokescreen, so Banshees could be hiding there and cause some trouble for him a little later on. We'll see if Polt actually utilizes that or not. First Banshee already out on the field, headed over to Bomber's base. Cloaking field not quite done yet, but the second Banshee is already in production as well. Banshee Wars, man, what are you going to do? He actually stops the Banshee in the middle of the map to take a look at the Zeltnaga Tower, but there's no Marines, no juicy Marines to kill there, so he's just going to continue moving straight upward toward Bomber's base. This is cross positions only, like I said. Oh, Banshees flying past each other, oh my goodness, and both of them are going to have cloaks soon. So let's see how many SCVs Polt can actually squeeze out of here. Marines already reacting. Cloak is not quite finished yet. He's going to grab a couple of kills already. 2 kills for this Banshee, and Cloak is going to finish. 3 kills for the Banshee. They do just barely, slightly outrange these Marines. Now Cloak is applied, and he's going to start working on the SCVs, building that turret. I like that move. He's going to kill as many Marines as he can, because obviously they're the danger here. He can always fly away from a turret, but he needs to kill these SCVs that are building it. He's going to just rack up so many kills. 12 kills already there for Polt before Bomber even arrives into the main of Polt. He's going to kill 2 Marines pretty quickly. Don't see any SCVs, but he does have enough energy for a scan. He's going to need his Marines to be right underneath that Banshee. This one up here for Polt, still 12 kills. Trying to pick off the tech lab, but they are going to get repaired. Those SCVs are going to get that thing repaired quickly. Scan goes down. Does Polt have enough firepower to take out the Banshee? 32 HP remains, and the Viking is so close by. He's going to land 1-2 rocket strikes, and the Banshee is dead. So Polt, advantage in this game so far. 13 kills on his Banshee, and the second Banshee has now arrived, has 0 kills, but it is going to be able to finish off the tech lab. It's actually just going to burn down, and he's going to apply Cloak to that second Banshee. Bomber never got a second Banshee into Polt's base, so Polt is just running wild right now. He's got 2 Banshees still alive compared to Bomber's 0. Both players building Ravens, because that's the next logical step when you've already got a starport with a tech lab on it. Thankfully for Bomber, Ravens will continue to build even after the tech lab is destroyed, so both players have their detection up in the air. This Banshee is finally going to fall with only 1 kill to its name. The other Banshee looks like it has returned all the way home to get repaired up. 13 kills. That Sergeant is pretty valuable there. 20 HP remaining is... I think Bomber is actually going to catch this. Ravens are a little bit slower, but once it eventually catches up, he's gonna just take 1 blast and be killed, or his cloaking will run out and the Viking will kill it anyway. Hooray! Hooray for Bomber. Alright, so Bomber, meanwhile, during all that Banshee dancing around, has got a command center started back at his main. Polt already has got an orbital command finished over at his natural, and he's got turrets in place as well. Polt is just slightly ahead in basically every facet of this game. Bomber falling incrementally behind. This is not looking so good for him. He does have some tanks and Marines. Let's look at just the unit tab right now. 2 tanks, 5 Marines versus 1 tank, 11 Marines. Still 1 Banshee operational as well. I have to imagine it's getting repaired up. Yes, it did get fully repaired, so Polt just chilling like a villain outside of his natural, waiting for anything Bomber might throw at him. 2 more barracks being created now for Bomber. Engineering bay is complete. Check out this poor SCV. He's actually built himself into a hole. He could just drop the supply depot, but I don't even think he realizes this SCV can't mine, because there's no idle SCVs when you're stuck and moving around like that. So finally he does drop the depot, and the SCV is allowed to mine again. Bomber and his SCVs, man. Sometimes I just don't know with this guy, but here we go. +1 infantry weapons, level 1 for Polt. Siege tech on the way. He does have a couple of tanks on the ground there. Banshee, 2 Vikings. Raven, he's got enough anti-air firepower to actually be able to deal with these 2 Vikings from Bomber. He may even score a free Viking kill here if the Marine would just shoot it. There it goes. More advantage for Polt. Siege tanks sieging up. Oh, he's going to walk right into that blind fire from the siege tanks and actually survive with everything. Alright, I guess that wasn't so bad. It looks like an auto turret was baited out of Bomber. So that's a little bit of energy missing that could be used toward a PDD. Actually, he's still got enough for a PDD, so he'll be fine. But notably, Polt has more energy on his Raven than Bomber does. Looks like back at home we have the starport moving around, wiggling and jiggling a little bit. Barracks number 3 right there, getting added onto that tech lab instead. Starport, not sure where you're headed there, it's just flying around aimlessly. Starport for Bomber still add-on less. He has not added on a reactor or a tech lab to get that extra functionality out of it. He has landed his orbital command finally over at the natural, but Polt is just pulled so far ahead in economy. Look at that, more harvesters, more mineral income, more gas income. Bomber finally slowly catching up, and Polt just pulling ahead now by 20-ish supply. Building some more depots, 4 depots at a time in fact, and just cranking out these bio units. 2 more barracks on the way, stim pack being researched for both players, combat shields and infantry weapons level 1 all being made now for Polt, and Bomber is actually the one on the move here. He doesn't have his +1 upgrades, they actually just started, so Polt again just incrementally ahead. Bomber may need some sweet positioning here to be able to do anything. He notably does not have a medevac in this group of units, so he's not going to be able to do too much shenanigans here on the low ground. He could siege up and hit a couple of supply depots and maybe even this tech lab that's just about to finish combat shields, but Polt is all the way over at Bomber's base. They actually might just do a base trade. Bomber realizes the army is not here for Polt. Polt realizes the army is not here for Bomber. He's just going to start shooting stuff and move up the ramp, and Polt actually a little bit ahead, pulling his orbital command, lifting off. There's a command center being built here for Bomber. It's actually going to get taken out very quickly, and this orbital still has not lifted off. Bomber has less stuff than Polt. Polt is already in the main, taking out some stuff. That wall off actually proving to be quite useful here in this case. SCVs surrounding the siege tanks. The siege tanks are not spread out enough. They're just actually going to blast each other in the face. All these SCVs surrounding tanks is actually quite incredible. Siege tank here actually thinned out this marine count, and the siege tank count of Bomber just huge significance there. Bomber actually ahead in supply, but actually GGing because this standing army is just too much for him to be able to handle. Bomber actually losing game 1 already. There were no SCVs. Were there actually no SCVs? 0 SCVs. Oh, sorry, 1 SCV total for Polt, and Bomber GGs because his tanks are about to go down. Actually, that's pretty crazy stuff. He didn't even use his SCVs to try and defend against this, mostly because there's just not enough anti-air here to deal with the anti-air and the forces that Polt has here. So a little bit of a crazy ending to game 1, but it is a best-of-3 series, so Bomber has a chance to try and fight for that higher seeding at IPL4. Let's go into game 2 now and see if Polt can seal the deal or if Bomber will claw his way back into contention.